Hey everybody, welcome back. Playing a little bit of The Binding of Isaac. It's a Saturday. You're probably watching this on a Saturday. I have to. We're gonna use the honor system here. By the way, I didn't have my screen region up, but I got Tainted Isaac to the Lamb. I think you know. Well, first off, I think you know I don't care enough to cheat my favorite character into, you know, this 4 streak right now. I hope that you think enough of me to have the moral fiber to not do that for literally 0 gain whatsoever. But on top of that, I think you know that Tainted Isaac is not my favorite character, so... but that just makes it that much more convenient now, doesn't it then? I'm not escaping here. I'm not escaping here. Anyway, it's a Saturday. Sorry today's Isaac episode is late. Honestly, I mean, if you hadn't believed me, if you thought I was just making up, you know, being short on time for sympathy, hopefully this causes you to be a little bit more believing, let's just say. I tweeted yesterday we would be late. It's not that big of a deal. Like, you know, this admittedly is it's a series we've been doing literally every day. Every day for at least 9 years. But I think, like, I'm trying to think of when, I think it was around, like, Wrath of the Lamb / Isaac when the daily episode started. Maybe and missed some in the interim period in there, but very, very, very rarely. You could pretty much, you couldn't set your watch to it. Easiest choice of my life there. Because again, today's is coming out late, but you could definitely set your calendar to it. And that's more than you can do for most things, you know? You can't even set your calendar to, like, TV shows. Yeah, Survivor comes on every Wednesday, except for, like, when it doesn't. Oh, this Wednesday is Arbor Day. We don't do an episode this week. Oh, it's Sweeps Week. We don't do an episode this week. We gotta play Will and Grace instead. You know, the most popular show of our time, Will and Grace. Okay, take me down here. Headstrong, I'll take you on. Headstrong, yeah, I know. Look, I'm starting a new revolution. Okay. People say, oh, I didn't even look to see what it was, but we got something good there. We're going to the Lamb. Okay. And you can't quote that song because Trapped is on Twitter. That's the band that sings it. They have some problematic opinions. I think and this is admittedly controversial, I think even if a celebrity or a band or a movie or a director has been canceled, you can still reference their work with 2 conditions. One is they don't profit off of it. The other one is if you're making fun of it. Because, look... I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to say there shouldn't be consequences for people's actions, of course. I would never go out there at this stage in my life and buy, you know, like Kevin Spacey's master class on how to be a great actor. I imagine, if I had to guess, I imagine they probably pulled that one from the library. I remember I used to get ads for that around 2013, 2014, used to get ads for that all the time. Is Masterclass? They must still be around. I never got one. It always seemed like how could you with a Masterclass? Like, I think they had there was a cooking Masterclass from Gordon Ramsay. You're gonna tell me that in like 10 1-hour-long episodes, Gordon Ramsay's gonna like level up my cooking? I don't buy it. I see it as like the modern like self-help cassette tape industry, you know, like, ooh, we could do that. In any movie from the 1980s, when a character is going through a crisis, they always shove like some kind of tape into their Walkman or their car stereo, and then it says like, "So you want to become a business person" or something like that. I just don't think it's I don't think it's realistic with that minimal amount of time. Like, there was a master class from the CEO of Disney on how to be a good leader, and I'm like, this is 10 hours long, man. You really think you're gonna teach me how to bend 21st century, they're not 21st century, 20th century Fox over the negotiating table and you know, pilfer the X-Men out of their pockets for pennies on the dollar? I don't think so. I just don't see it. Maybe you could lead to me getting free dessert at my favorite restaurant from time to time, but is that what leadership is? Is leadership when you get free dessert at your favorite restaurant from time to time? He gets free cake. He gets free cake, Jerry. That's a real... I've been watching a lot of Seinfeld. Well, and by a lot, I mean like 45 minutes a night. But I think at 45 minutes a night, I should catch up in the next 4 or 5 years. It's kind of exciting. I've been looking forward to seeing the new episodes they've made, like especially in the 2000s. Okay. HP is always an interesting get. Like, tiers are better. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. My philosophy is, okay. Sorry, that was Purple Haze, I think. This might be a little bit surprising, or this might, like, completely shake up the meta. But I actually think you want good items, don't get me wrong, as Tainted Isaac. But I think HP is a really, really good get. Even in this case, like, in most circumstances, we would never take just a raw HP upgrade over a tiers upgrade. But the HP upgrade essentially is a permanent get for us. You know, the tiers upgrade only sticks around until we get something that's better than it, which is plausible. The HP, by virtue of us not losing our HP upgrades when we drop the item, is actually, like, I don't know if it's better, but long term, the forecast might be better. In the short term, we'll, you know, lament the fact that our damage is a little bit lower, but most of our damage is actually dealt via the Bird's Eye Chili. Candy Heart is pretty good. I can live with the Candy Heart. Some candy talking. I'm just trying to think. I guess we want to leave red hearts on the ground. At this point, I've never really, like, tried to use the trinket or the item effectively. I think I've always just forgotten that I had it as soon as I got it, but anyway, how am I doing? I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Just take a sip of the coffee here. Then I got an ice cube in my mouth because I'll admit it is a Starbucks, and the infinite iced coffee is back in play. Look, I think Starbucks, like every entity on Earth, a little bit controversial right now. I know there's some, like, union stuff going on with the employees, but apart from that, I'm unfamiliar. I don't mean to be, as I've been derisively called, a corpo, but I will say the majority of my experience, they say speak about what you know. The majority of my experience with Starbucks is as a consumer. It is not as you know, like a labor activist. So I'm only speaking to what I know. I'm not trying to you know, undermine the efforts in my own way of the employees there. But I gotta say, to be honest with you, Starbucks has got to have the best app in the game, right? Like, and I'm not talking about, you know, endless appetizers. I'm talking about you know, like the phone app. Like today, I was about to order my usual, and it said, hold on, before you order your usual, you have 150 stars, whatever the heck that means. Would you like to use 150 stars to get one of these items for free? And I said, holy cow, yes, please. And then it was like $5 off. I didn't know you could still do it. I honestly thought that, like, loyalty systems like that, essentially, there's like 3 options for those. I thought, and apparently I'm mistaken, but we definitely, well, I guess we would have preferred a Lucky Penny, but we're gonna try to get the extra Spirit Heart here. I thought there were 3 possibilities. One is, they don't do them anymore. Ever since Subway got rid of the Subway loyalty card where every 10 sandwiches you got a free footlong, man, oh man, those were the days your mom busts out like that little paper punch card or stamp card, I can't remember what it is. You're getting a free 6-inch turkey at 5 sandwiches. You're getting a free footlong at 10. Then I remember they got really popular in like the early 2000s, and they're like, oh, we're gonna have to cancel it. Paper's too expensive. I thought that was just the way of the world. I thought that the big companies didn't really do the loyalty stuff anymore. The other alternative is there are like local restaurants here that do punch cards, but then when they get popular, they're like, oh, the punch cards don't exist anymore. You know, you go there and hey, every 10 visits, you get a free ramen or something like that. Or, you know, every 5 visits, you get a free order of gyoza. And you're like, whoa, this is sick. Then 2 years later, they got 17 locations in the lower mainland, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't honor these anymore because we don't have to. Screw you. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Call me crazy, I don't really want any of that. Especially knowing we gotta save, like, our item space, I'm happy where we stand. And then the third one, I guess, is actually, like, a good honor system. Like, I don't know, I'm not saying you're getting 20% back as Starbucks, but I feel like I've probably spent $60 on the app and I just got $5 off. That's 8% cash back, man. That's not too bad. Anyway, again, I'm not going to bat for, I'm not saying it's a good entity, all things considered, like within the scope of humanity. All I'm saying is that compared to, I mean, don't even get me started. The last time I used the Subway app, I just ordered on the app, and then when I went to the store, and I did not call it a restaurant, I know, because it's not really. When I went to the store, the guy was like, look at how messy this receipt is. Like, are you stupid? Well, he didn't call me stupid, but there was an insinuation that, like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, you know, buddy, I just used the app. Don't get on my case just because you guys can't, you know, hire good software developers or something. Now, I would again say that this is not that impressive. I don't really want to be Dark Judas because I kind of enjoy the effect that we get from, I mean, I enjoy the Soul of Isaac, really. So just take me down here. I'm feeling okay. The run could use a heavy hitter, but it's doing something. It's not doing nothing. So that's what I got going on. That's about it. I was not joking. You know, in terms of gaming, well, like it's a bit of a we're in a glut now, and glut, I think, despite a word being quite guttural, is actually like a very it's a positive thing. We got let's go. We got a lot of great games, a lot of interesting games that have come out recently. Inscription, Darkest Dungeon 2, still playing way too much Super Auto Pets. Mario Party Superstars is like a lot of fun. I actually very much enjoyed the new Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes, even though I put it out on YouTube to frickin' die. Which is fine, you know, the market, it votes with its eyeballs here, and that's okay. Had a great time playing it. It's, we're spoiled for choice a little bit, and yet on my phone I find myself playing Super Auto Pets more than anything else. And enjoying it immensely, man. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. I think they made, like, the perfect mobile game. It's a beautiful experience. You get an early worm. You give it garlic armor. Maybe you get a bunny on your side as well. All of a sudden, you got like a 50-50 worm with a 350 meated crab behind it. I've got some controversial food opinions lately. Can I hit you with them? I'm assuming you said yes. Crab and lobster, both amazing meats. Or, I don't know if you want to... I guess, I consider it meat, but I know there's some people who are like, I don't eat meat, I only eat fish. I don't know why I use that voice for you. If that's you, I apologize for the derisive tone. It says more about me than it does about you, quite frankly. We want birthright, no doubt. Also gonna take just a little pause here. I'm gonna clear out the old sinuses. Look, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, okay? People always tell you... We gotta check. Ooh. People always tell you, you know? When you have a kid, you get used to getting, you know, some more sniffles, some more stuffed upness, etc., etc. We put our kid in daycare, as I mentioned ad nauseum, in the last couple of weeks. It's, you know, it's been like 8 days already. Like, yesterday, my wife woke up with a sore throat and was like, oh, I hope it's just dry air. And I was like, yeah, it's probably just dry air, copium. And then, you know, today I woke up with a sore throat and I was like, oh, crap. Guess that kind of dry air stuff is, like, you know, going around. You can understand it. You know, they're drooling all the time. They're putting their hands, like, in their mouths. They're rubbing it, you know, on, you know, every surface in the vicinity. Please do not be alarmed. I still have my sense of taste. I know it's going to call into question because I said that I willingly got Starbucks and I eat Subway from time to time. I promise you I still have my sense of taste. Hagalas. No, thank you. But here's my take on this controversial subject. Crab, lobster, great meats. I don't think that they're overrated. I understand that back in the olden days, I don't know, there's two ways you can think about marketing in this context, right? One is that back in the olden days, in Boston Harbor, they used to, I just love any opportunity to do a Boston accent, of course, is one of the most fun accents to do, and one of the few that's still socially acceptable, I might add. At least for now. As far as I'm concerned, as I'm on the West Coast, we have like a cultural exchange. When people make fun of the West Coast, dude, oh my god, my legal cannabis is like totally tubular, dude. As long as that one's still socially acceptable, I'm still gonna drop all of the R's off of the words when I talk about Boston, okay? If you got a problem with that, you can take it up with the hog. Not the pig, I mean, like, you could take it up with the place where they do the war crimes trials. Not the war crimes. The trials for the war crimes. But anyway, back in the day, it used to be like a punishment to eat shellfish, essentially, you know? If instead of eating cod, they had you eating lobster, that was a sign that, like, your boss didn't care about you. So I think there's two ways that people choose to think about that. One way is, I'm stupid. One way is that the food is actually bad, but marketing has made it expensive now. The other one is that, you know, food tastes change over time, and in particular in the 1800s can't be trusted because, you know, it was as recently as the 1950s people were making, like, bananas hollandaise for companies. Excuse me? I think I just had a stroke. Bananas hollandaise for company when they had company over. But I do not think lobster is overrated. I think it's appropriately rated. Overpriced, yes, but that's mostly... I don't know if that has anything to do with the... I don't have an economic leg to stand on. I'm just like, you know, you want me to pay lobster prices? No, thank you. I'll take the salmon. I'll take the salmon linguine, please. I'm not... Anytime I see M.P next to an item in a restaurant, I say no. Because I don't want to pay market price. I want you to pay market price, whether it goes up or down, and then charge me a flat price based on, you know, the maximum you think you can get people to pay in this restaurant. I don't want to be beholden to the supply chain snafu going on right now. That's your business. You're working in the restaurant industry. Anyway, plus, I don't know, man. I always, you get, when I eat at, like, a small restaurant, and it says market price for, like, some of the stuff, particularly seafood, I say that makes sense. I bet every day or every couple of days you have to go to a fishmonger or, you know, like the public market or something like that and buy your supply so that, you know, it changes over time. When I see it at Red Lobster, I'm like, you're actually owned by, like, you know, QSR Restaurant Brands International. You're telling me, like, your actual lobster price fluctuates so regularly, even though it probably gets shipped in like, you know, frozen plastic bags, that you can't possibly, like, put a flat price in the menu? Anyway, regardless of that, here's my controversial take. Not overrated. However, chopped lobster, chopped crab, crab salad, lobster roll, etc., etc., a little overrated. And I don't think this is going to get me many fans. Now, I've had some great lobster rolls in my life. I've been to the east coast of Canada a few times, and... Excuse me? How did that land there? There we go. Had some fantastic lobster, no doubt about it. I don't even think we want those items. I had a great lobster roll in merry old England once as well, which was funny because the lobster, they were proudly advertising that it came from Atlantic Canada, but then it's also funny to think, I'm not sure, I think England might actually be closer to Atlantic Canada than it is, than Atlantic Canada is to Vancouver, so fair enough. But a lot of this is predicated upon the fact that maybe a month ago, I was really hungry, I was walking the baby around, and there was a food truck that had a lobster roll. It was the only food truck around. I said, you know what, let's give it a try. It was like... It was insane. I don't even want to tell you the price. Let's just say you couldn't get it for 150 stars at Starbucks. Okay, I will tell you the price. I guess we don't really need a damage upgrade when we have Ipecac. That one's kind of on me. I will take the nail. I respect it. I don't know. I guess I'll honestly go ahead and take Sacrificial Dagger as well. And then we'll move on. But, you know what? Let me caffeinate again. It's 9:20 a.m. I'm trying to kickstart the old noggin here. It's not necessarily working, but I'm doing my darndest. It was like, I can't remember specifically. It was definitely over 20 Canadian dollars, though. Maybe in the vicinity of, like, you know, like a $23, $24 food truck meal. And for those of you not familiar, a lobster roll is basically like it's a baguette sliced in half or hollowed out and then filled with chopped lobster, dill, maybe some melted butter, maybe some mayonnaise, and that's basically it. When I got it, you know, I was, because of the price, I was expecting, like, something pretty decent, and it did not bring it. It was, you know, cold and kind of squishy, and the dill was nice, but also, like, a little overpowering, and... This might ruin our game, but that could be fun, too. Oh, excuse me? Let's dump our HP... And we want to dump this one. This, by the way, I actually think we're gonna dump this. Because I just noticed that the shot then shot out like a Tammy's head of Ipecac explosions when it blew up. That seems a little dicey for me. So let's just ignore that for now. I don't think we really want... Well, you know what? I bet if we get the quarter and then we put it back down, we still have the money. So that's fine. Anyway, it was just kind of like it was cold and honestly like a little gross. And that is now I'm painting all lobster and crab with the same brush. I think if you get crab legs, if you get like a lobster tail or a whole lobster or whatever, it's a different story, it's a different experience. But when it's like, you know, chopped up and displayed in a way that maximizes the use of the lobster via thickening agents such as mayonnaise, I'm not sold on it anymore. I think I learned a valuable lesson. Now, mind you, the only... I guess we're going, man. The only thing they really sold at this food truck, and it was the only option around, was like different varieties of lobster roll and crab salad, so I was kind of screwed either way. I was a captive audience. But it is what it is. I mean, if we're talking about overrated, underrated, and this is what we want here, I could get myself into a lot of trouble. Let me start with the obvious. Chicken, overrated. Particularly chicken breast. But the fact that it is, in many parts of North America, at least, considered like the default meat, I think people are missing out. Now, I don't dislike chicken. It's probably the meat that I've consumed the most in my life. I harbor some controversial opinions. Like, for example, even though it's not traditional in the slightest, chicken is my favorite, like, burrito protein, man. Even over a carnitas, yes, even over, like, a barbacoa or a carne asada. Something about chicken, like, warm, diced chicken in a burrito just hits different for me. I'm not gonna say that it's universally the best for everybody, but for me, is what I prefer. However, like, chicken breast in particular is, like, it's gotta be the most overrated meat, man. I'm only ever impressed with it. What? Excuse me, my game. When it's like, you know, breaded and deep fried, basically, which is maybe an indictment of my own personal palate. But I'm not saying I haven't had good chicken breast in my life, but you know, most of the time I have it, whether I cook it at home or have it by someone else's hand. Sinewy, kind of dry, or the alternative is sometimes you'll get like a sous vide or a brined chicken that's then grilled. It's juicy. It's kind of like uniform throughout instead of like having, like, you know, being shredded. That's a little bit nicer most of the time, but even still. Now, beef. Beef is a weird one. I feel like beef has the potential in many circumstances to be the highest quality meat. But I do also feel, to some extent, you could call it a little overrated. Like, I eat a decent amount of steak, mostly because we bought some cast iron pans and I'm still trying to, like, recoup the cost by spending more money somehow. I don't know. Reminds me of someone else I know. Am I right? The government? I'm just joking. I don't know what I'm talking about. Regardless, at least we had one good joke this episode. I think that, you know, you like a beautiful ribeye or a tenderloin or a strip loin, you know, can be amazing. But a lot of beefs I'm not totally sold on. Eye of round, top sirloin, or sorry, sirloin... sirloin tip? Is that what I'm thinking of? I find myself modestly disappointed by them instead of being pleased. And ground beef might be like the most overrated meat on the planet. That being said, it's one of the best ground beefs. Or, sorry, one of the best ground meats. But, I mean, don't even get me started on ground turkey. It's like eating styrofoam. Now, I know you're like, you can't just call every meat overrated. Okay, I was thinking about it. Okay, remember, you don't need damage so much. You don't really need HP, though, either. You could get tears out of the divorce papers. That's a pretty minor... no, that's a pretty major improvement. I can live with that. But we want to make sure we stick with this. Dude, Tainted Isaac is kind of sick, huh? The one I always go to bat for is that I really feel like pork in general is underrated. And I'm not just talking about bacon, ham, salami, etc., etc. But even just like the simple pork chop, I feel like it's the most misunderstood cut of meat in the pantheon. People, you know, consistently think of it as like dried out shoe leather. That's because it does require not a ton of skill, but it requires a little finesse to get it right. You have to play fast and loose with the preconceived notions you might have about food safety. You have to be comfortable cooking it until it's done, but no further. Maybe even, like, I have cooked it to the point where it's like still a little pink in the middle and been fine with it. But, you know, even just the fact that it's still juicy in the middle is one of my go-to meals. Like a pork chop, bone-in, cast iron skillet, maybe some Brussels sprouts on the side, maybe like a maple syrup, soy sauce or a maple syrup Dijon mustard sort of glaze over top of it, it hits the spot. Now, I'm not going to say I've never overcooked one, led to some shoe leather, but if you do it right, it's not... the problem with the pork chop does not fall with the pork chop, it falls with the chef. And even when I get it wrong, I admit it. I think it's the most misunderstood meat. I'm going to bat for it, man. I'm gonna get... What color of laser eyes do I need on Twitter to become a pork chop maxi? Nobody knows? Nobody knows what you're talking about? Okay, what else is new? Fish, I would also say underrated. I actually, like... Of all of... If we're gonna count all fish as a meat... Because, you know, like, you got... There's a difference between eating, like, you know, a Chilean sea bass or something like that, and eating... we call them crappies. I don't know what they're called in the rest of the world. But, you know, a fish that's, like, 75% bones. But, like, you know, assuming we're talking about haddock or sole or halibut or cod or salmon or... So, did I say sole already? Probably tilapia. I would also put that heavily in the underrated category. Grew up eating a lot of fish, so I'm sure this has, like, an impact on me. But, like, I would much rather have, like, and not a filet-o-fish, but I would much rather have a fillet of fish than a chicken breast, like, any day of the week, and almost any fish you could imagine. Ham. Very nice. Okay, so we still want that. We could probably dump placenta at this point. This is gonna be a win, by the way. We got there. It was never in doubt, really. And that's about it. Am I missing one? Like, here's the thing. Like, I like lamb. Brick Tamlin. I love lamb. Brick Tamlin at a restaurant. You guys ever see Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy? I'm old, man. That movie, it's kind of crazy to think that Anchorman is like 3 years away from being 20 years old. That's a crazy thought. Anchorman 2 is already like older than the average Twitch viewer, which is a little stunning to think about. Guess I got zapped there. That being said, it's not that common in North America. You know, you can get like a rack of lamb, but it's one of the most expensive cuts of meat at the grocery store or the restaurants, and it takes a decent amount of skill to be able to cook it, so most people don't take the chance. You know, you can get a leg of lamb, but I feel like the roasting culture in North America is kind of like, it's diminished in quality. We're very much... you know, moving on to bowls and, you know, wraps and saute and stuff like that. Sous vide, air fry. It's sad when you think about that level of moral decay. People are air frying everything these days. I'm joking. I love my air fryer. Why would you... You know what? Maybe I'm actually a genius. We finished that room so easily. Yeah, genius. I like the sound of that. What? He came back from the other side. Similarly, like, you know, I've had goat before. You can get goat here, like at Indian restaurants in particular, but, you know, it's not common. Let's put it that way. It's not, you wouldn't go to your average grocery store and be like, you know, let me get that, you know, goat leg. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about that. But the other meats that have been mentioned, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if I've consumed them all 1,000 times each. Does that make sense? How many days have I lived? 33 years times about 300 days a year. My God. 10,000 days plus like another, I mean, you would put like another 20% on top of that, because 60 is about 20%. Oh my God. Maybe even more than 1,000 times each. You have a meal, like, when your parents cooked it for you growing up, you hated it, and then you got older and you thought it was good? I can say this, first off, I love my parents. Secondly, growing up, at least, like, the meals I'm going to talk about, my parents didn't cook them because they worked full-time and we lived in a duplex with my grandparents, so my grandma cooked all the time. Let me go. And... just excuse me here. I just needed to make sure it was all copacetic there. My grandma cooked all the time, so really I'm insulting my grandma more so than my parents. And honestly, we don't have a great relationship for reasons that are not like necessarily monka-esque, but you know, are not worth getting into here. Suffice it to say. I was gonna say F that old bat, but that's not what I mean. All I mean is, you know, I feel comfortable. Hey, let me put it this way. Don't secondhand, like, feel bad for my grandma that you've never met in this situation and know nothing about the situation, you know? And also, she was not that good of a cook. She's not a good cook. Regardless. Growing up, I always thought that I hated roast beef, man. How tragic is that? You get roast beef and it like, cook it so badly that it turns into, I don't even know, like, when you know when you get, like, the really bad roast beef and when you're eating it, you get, like, grains of beef sand in your teeth? You gotta, like, floss every 6 bites, even as a kid when your gums haven't receded? Like, that's what roast beef was like. It was always, like, it was uniformly gray throughout. By the way, we may die. I know I said there was no chance we would. That was before I realized that I'm bad. I always thought that I hated roast beef. Then, like, got a little older, had it at a restaurant one time. It was a beautiful kind of, like, pale red in the center, served with a nice sauce over top instead of just, like, 18 slices of Wonder Bread with margarine. I was like, wait a minute, this is incredible. I always thought that same thing. I thought I disliked prime rib, man. Had it at a Christmas thing once, like 5 years ago, and was like, this is delicious. By the way, we're actually horrible at Isaac. Thanks for watching, though. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. My bad, and I'll see you next time. See ya!